Hello, in this video I'm going to be talking about picks, specifically this which I've just bought, it's just come through the post today. It's a metal pick. There you go, if I turn it you can see it shining. It's a steel pick, not stainless steel, a plain steel pick. The reason I'm talking about picks is partly out of interest, and it's mostly to do with my concept where I don't slant the pick, where I pick full on. Some people, if you watch the previous videos, may have assumed that I get away without pick slanting. I don't have to pick slant, it's simply because I use a thin pick, and that isn't the case. I also talk about, this is very hard pick, it's solid metal. And also I'll demonstrate the differences between the picks, and also what you'll realise from this is that the sound and the tone comes from the guitarist, not the equipment. So you'll notice that the picks make hardly any difference. I've only just got this today, so I'm getting used to this metal pick, so it's more about the feel, what feels right, I think is the way you should decide on what pick to use. So this is the 0.5 plastic. Let's try a different key actually. Quite lively. Fingers, so you hook under the string even more lively. Okay, then you've got this, it's another type of hard plastic pick, it's 0.7. Try and play something similar. Then you've got this, another hard plastic pick, it's 1mm. Then I've got this, the steel pick. So there's hardly any difference. But since I've been using a steel pick, I would say there's a very, very slight, if you like a crisper treble end, there's a slightly different tone to the treble end, but it's very subtle. Most of the way that somebody sounds comes from the way that they play. So I've got probably quite a shrill sound. Okay, so I'm using the metal pick, and I'll try something more of an alternate picking exercise. I'll try it with a different pickup. Neck pickup. So still getting used to it. Like I said in the previous videos, I'm making one video a day on average for the first 10, so I can get used to this talking to a camera, and also I'm building my own playing after quite a few months break from practicing. Well, I have been playing for quite a number of years, 22 in total. But if you don't practice for a while, you definitely need to top up. So when I'm practicing, I play very, very hard. This is, like I've said in a previous video, it's a chromatic, the one just before this. I talk about the benefits of picking hard. It emphasises and amplifies the electrical signal to the brain, and it makes it much quicker to learn the guitar. And also, it's a psychological thing. Sometimes somebody plays so light and cautiously, but it's almost as though they're afraid of the guitar. So this, by playing hard, almost overcomes that. I wouldn't really call it a fear, but I call it maybe a hesitancy that some people have when they're trying to play something, especially if they're trying to play something more complicated. So if something's complicated, don't be shy about playing it. For example, that's a fairly complicated pattern. If you play it like this, you can do it a long time, but you won't develop it as well as you would if you did this. That is a complicated pattern. So you go back slow. And you really pick hard. Brad gets the pan and really sorted, so you won't have to keep practicing it for many hours. Just a few minutes like that will do, and it's exhausting, so you probably would struggle to do it for any more than that. It's a great use of time because it's time efficient. You practice for 10 minutes like crazy. It's better than an hour practicing lightly. This is to do with technique. Like I said, we're dealing with technique as a separate issue, so that's done, sorted out, and that's out of the way. And then if it needs to be topped up, you can just do this in a very short time frame, only a few minutes, even sometimes just a few minutes a day once you've really sorted your technique out, just to keep it topped up. And that's by playing hard and without slanting the pick. Okay, so you pick with a pick dead on, not an angle. And I'll show you the difference, because I can pick with a slanted pick. Sometimes I do slant the pick exceptionally high speeds. I think that what it is that confuses people is they look at very, very, very fast guitar players playing at the absolute maximum, and they notice they might be slanting the pick or not picking quite as wide, and they're picking a very fine movement at a shallow depth with a bit of a slant. And the reason for that, let me just move the mouse as I always do in these videos, because it makes the screen go blank if you leave it for a while. People pick on a, so they're watching somebody pick really, really fast. The top shredder is the absolute maximum, making a very, very small movement. But that's okay, but that's not how you practice. And I don't even believe you do need to slant a pick when you're at maximum speed. You might want to grip slightly less. One of the issues with slanting the pick, and here's the difference, you especially notice it with a metal pick. And most plastic picks, let me just try the plastic pick. So you get that slight scratch before. You don't notice as much of a plastic pick. But once you start getting a pattern going, it does sound a bit softer. Not the way I do it, but it's like a slight hiss to it. that's what I'm saying, it hisses slightly. There you go, that's with slanted pick. And then full on. It's much more accurate sounding. With a high distortion, which has got a hiss to it already as part of the tone, you wouldn't notice it. But the way I pick will work for any sound. So you could have a clean tone, a low level distortion. I could plug into a vintage amp with no digital effects, and it'll sound great. All I'm using is an analog, an analog overdrive, which is only slightly in the mix, and into a completely clean tone amp. So there's no reverb and no reverb or delay. So I pick hard. Out of practice. It's good practice, actually. So we go for something a bit more technical. This pattern again, but up here, where you need a very precise tone to hear it. Action's a little bit higher at this end. Notes have a tendency to be a bit quieter. There's less tone on them because you've got less distance from where your finger is to the end. They don't ring out as much. So you've got to make sure it's very accurate. So that's with the metal pick, full on. I don't have to angle the pick even when I'm using a pick that's made of solid steel. So there's no excuse for anyone to angle the pick. The reason people angle the pick is because it reduces the resistance. And there's an old saying that says the path of least resistance makes some men and all rivers crooked. And that's what I would say to anyone who advocates the path of least resistance. Anyone who advocates pick slanting should remember that saying. The path of least resistance makes some men and all rivers crooked. It's an old saying, but it's very true. But you might think, well, I don't want to suffer. You won't suffer because, well, when you're practicing you get exhausted. If you follow my system, it is quite hard going, but it's for a very short time frame. So you suffer in a very, very short time frame, then you're a great guitar player. It improves your timing, everything, because you're playing aggressively. It improves the tone. And of course then if you wanted to slant the pick for some reason, perhaps you thought you wanted it to sound fizzy and hissy, for some reason, I personally don't like that sound, but if you wanted to sound like that, you can. If you get used to pick slanting, you're making it too easy for yourself. So that when you go back to trying to play it with a pick full on, you think, well, this is impossible, it has to be pick slanting. It doesn't, and I'm here to prove, and I think I've got to be one of the only YouTube shredders that's advocating this and is actually proving that you don't have to slant the pick. You don't even have to loosen your grip. You can pick like crazy. You're not going to snap the strings. They don't snap that easy. Okay? The only time that they snap, people have said they snap strings, that's because they've got a sharp point here or somewhere else that's causing them to snap, or they were just bad strings. They won't, I don't think, we'll see what happens with this steel pick though, which I'm using right now. Maybe they will snap if I keep playing. I mean, I've got some very shiny marks on these thicker strings, where it's really whacking them and actually almost polishing the string, taking some of the surface metal off the string. Okay, so that is the steel pick. This is something I'm going to be training with. I actually prefer a steel pick. I don't really want to. I will explain this actually. It's a little bit controversial. There's some evidence to suggest that handling plastic causes you to absorb certain chemicals. I'm not an expert on this, but it can cause you to absorb certain chemicals, some of which could have estrogenic effects, like lowering your testosterone. And that's of course a negative. If you're a man, especially. I know if you're a woman, there's various reasons it could be a negative. But if you're a man, it's a serious negative. So if you look at, I think very few shredders use a steel pick. I think George Lynch uses a steel pick, and he's a fairly manly guy. And perhaps that's because he wasn't, I don't know, it could be a bit of an odd feeling, but it could be the fact that he wasn't absorbing the estrogen from the chemicals in the plastic. I might be wrong, so don't take that as a fact, but for this same reason that I don't use anything plastic. I'll just show you this. I use a stainless steel keyboard, 100% stainless steel, and a metal mouse. So there you go. I don't want to touch anything that's plastic. In fact, I might even get a chrome scratch plate for this guitar. So I'll really rest my hand a bit on there. But that's all I've got to say about it really. Let me just get this right again. It's awkward with a webcam. I am getting used to a webcam, by the way. I've had some comments saying that they don't like the video quality. I think it's better now. That was one of the older videos because I've adjusted the settings, but I'm still getting used to using a webcam. I could spend a lot more money on this stuff, but I don't want to just yet. Reason being that these first 10 videos are a trial to see what the reaction is, to see whether people like it. If people endorse what I do, they like it, then I will make loads of videos. I tend to make loads anyway, but I won't invest money in it unless I know that people really like it. There's definitely an audience out there for this type of guitar playing and practice. My practice systems, in terms of time, they're so time efficient, I think they're the best in the world. My practice systems are the best. If somebody followed what is in my book, which I'll just get, although it's difficult, if somebody followed what's in this book, all the advice, I think they would be the best guitarist, fastest guitarist, well, the fastest in the world within a very, very short time. In fact, the shortest time frame of ever, maybe even in the space of a year. That's how effective this information actually is. I'm not exaggerating at all, it's a fact. So I'm not that fussy about equipment, as you can tell. I've only just got this through the post this morning. It's the evening now, it's 10 o'clock at night. I have had a bit of a go at it during the day. I had lots of other things to do. So I'm only really getting into it now when I've got a chance to do a bit of practice. One thing I would say is when you've got a potentially weaker note and you're trying to keep a string bend going and get a rich, which is almost impossible on this guitar, to get a rich tone out of a string bend, the steel pick does actually help. It tends to bring and Johnny Winter, I think, used to use, the blues guitar player, it's one of my favourite blues guitar players, used to use, I think, a metal thumb pick. And he got a great sort of, I can't do any Johnny Winter stuff, that's probably the wrong place to play it because that fret's dead. He used to get a very lively sound out of these crazy little things he used to do. Like this, very lively sound out of this metal pick, because he would actually hold the thumb pick. He wouldn't use it, sometimes he'd use it like a thumb pick, but sometimes he'd hold it against the second finger and he'd basically use it like it was a pick. So yeah, I'm going to try, and you're welcome to ignore what I said about plastic being harmful. There's every chance that I'm 100% wrong on that. It's just a theory that I have. I've got no scientific evidence at all to back that up. And I'm not an expert on plastics or anything medical. So you're welcome to completely ignore that and carry on using the plastic pick. But personally for me, if I can get used to, to be honest, it hasn't done me that much harm using a plastic pick. I don't think it does any harm really. I think preferably a metal pick would be superior, because we know there's no, well perhaps there's, I don't think there's it's a natural element, isn't it really? It's not a man-made element. So I feel a bit more comfortable with that. Really lively sounds. Notice I'm picking hard. Playing the same sort of stuff, I suppose, here. I'm picking hard, but I'm not snapping the strings. Guitar is a good guitar, the strings won't break, the strings are good. Nearly. Yeah, it's definitely going to take more practice to get used to this steel pick. But also, it's a funny thing. Steel is a bit different to plastic. It will bend over time. I think that did bend slightly. We can bend it back by physical pressure, or you can just make sure you turn it round. If you do more down picks and up picks, or if you're harder with the down picks, you can turn it round and practice it the other way to bend it back, I suppose, or by loads of them. They're not expensive. The ones I got, I think were about £2 for two, but if you buy more, like 10 or 20, it gets to a point where they're only about 20p each. I only bought two as a sort of minimum order in case I didn't like them. I actually really do like them. Let's bring back to that. Good enough. So this like I said, all these videos so far are almost completely improvised. Well, they are improvised, 100% to be honest. I have an idea what I'm going to talk about, but that's it. Try a steel pick, see how you get on, and don't be afraid to pick hard with it. It won't do any damage. Don't be afraid of a guitar. Don't get paranoid about having a pick slant. Because I'm going to come back at one point, I'm only getting back into this. And I will do a video where I pick deadly accurately, when I get right back to my top speed again, or even a little bit beyond it hopefully. I'm going to do a video where I pick deadly accurately, but solid metal pick, 16 notes per second without slanting it, by digging in with a full depth. And you will hear the difference between that and a lot of these sort of shredders who just skim the note. There's a big difference. It sounds incredible if you can play with that kind of aggression and power at speed. Don't sacrifice aggression, power and tone for speed, because you don't have to. 100% don't have to. And it doesn't even take you longer. It's not a shortcut to start playing lightly, because when you practice lightly, it takes you longer to make progress, because you're reducing the electrical signal to the brain, so you learn the pattern more slowly. My way, to be honest, if you're into rock or metal, is the best way. And the smooth playing, I need to tell you a bit about the history. Got to move the mouse again because the video's a long video. The history of where the lighter playing came from, I'll just tell you. It came from the jazz world. It came from fusion players in the early 90s coming up with more energy efficient, smoother techniques. They were using picks that were almost practically made of rubber, so they didn't get any twang to the note. They were using a very mid-range tone, and they're trying to get a smooth tone. I can almost not get, I can't even imitate it because I just so naturally play hard. I probably could have got the tone right, maybe a softer pick. They would play very light, and use a particular tone that suited it. So they went for a smooth sound, and they went for a very energy efficient picking style. I've got plenty of respect for those sort of players, but it won't suit rock and heavy metal or blues, any type of blues that's got any aggression at all. And a lot of blues should have at least some aggression, even in at least in 10% of the solo. So I actually feel that some of the smoother playing, where you can look at people like Alan Holdsworth, even admits that he was trying to imitate like a woodwind instrument or a synthesizer because he wanted a smooth sound on every note. We're guitarists, and the history of guitar, it's a string instrument, especially the electric guitar. It's designed for rock, it's designed for a lively sound, and if that's what you're going for, follow my advice and I will help you achieve it without sacrificing your speed. You'll be able to play even faster, in fact. So that's it for now. I just go for a couple of exercises. This is one that I'm practicing at the moment. It's a Dorian and slow, typical of a kind of thing in my book. That's it, fast, slow. So yeah, frustrating exercise, and again it's just one that I'm using to get back into it. So I don't play perfect, I'm not playing as well as I want. Trust me, I can play better than this. But I'm getting back into it and I'm using my own systems and I'm improving already, even with this brand new pick, which takes a bit of getting used to. Shouldn't have put the heating on, it's getting too hot now. That's it. And remember the saying, next time somebody tells you to take the path of least resistance and use pick slanting, remember the saying, the path of least resistance makes some men and all rivers crooked. Always go for it, always put in maximum effort, and you will get so much more from your guitar playing in a much shorter time frame. You will be rewarded, trust me, for that extra effort. You will always be rewarded, so just go for it. Okay, thanks.